Hello guys, so story time. We're doing a story time today because I have a story for you that some people may know but not everybody knows, but it's still quite hysterical even now because of how pathetically stupid it is. Basically, right, okay, so this is the story of how I fractured my pelvis. I did this in year 10 at school, so I was 15, so we're talking about 8 years ago now, I think. And it was sort of towards summertime, so we're talking the sort of time of year when you do athletics and PE and stuff like that. And basically, I was in my PE lesson. It was like the last lesson of the day on a Friday because we had like a double period of PE, and we were doing athletics, and our regular teacher wasn't there, so we had a cover teacher who was the uncle of one of the students actually. So he was running our lesson, and we were doing like athletics. So we did like a jog around the track as like a warm up for the session, and then we got kind of split up into little teams and we did a 200-meter sprint. So I'd done my warm up, I was all ready to go, and we then did this 200-meter sprint. So I started off at the start post, as you do, and took off into a run. I kind of was pretty fast. I'm nowhere near as fast now. I got about 5 paces into my run before I heard a pop and a crack, and I went tumbling to the floor. So at first, everybody thought that I was just mucking about and I was faking and that I wasn't really hurt, until someone came up to me and saw I was in tears and I was in a lot of pain and I was clutching my hip. So basically the pop and the crack was my hip. I came tumbling to the floor and then I passed out because of the pain. So everybody freaked out. A couple of the girls from my class ran over to the main building of the school to go and tell like the other teachers that what had happened, and they came running back with the medical lady from like the little not hospital section, the little like medical room that you have at schools, with a wheelchair. So they came running back and they couldn't get me up into the wheelchair because I was very sort of lethargic and sleepy because of fainting. So every time they tried to lift me up, the pain was so bad that I was then passing out. So I basically had to be picked up by this teacher and put into the chair. So this poor substitute teacher had to pick up a very lethargic and unconscious 15-year-old girl and put her in a wheelchair because she couldn't move. Which is very difficult because I couldn't bend my leg properly. So we got over to the little medical room and the lady called my mum and explained what had happened. So she came to get me from school. Now, we had a bit of a problem because I couldn't bend my leg. I couldn't get onto the bed at the little hospital room, but also couldn't get into the car. So it was quite a pain to try and get into the car. So basically I had to kind of bum shuffle through the car and lift my leg up onto the seat, and I had to kind of sit on the seats with my legs raised on the back seat. So I was basically sat with my head against the window and my feet against the seats of the car. So usually I would get home from school and then my sister would come home from school, and because I was already in the house would be open for her to get in. But with me having to go to the hospital, we couldn't do that, so we had to go and pick up my sister, who burst into fits of laughter after seeing me with my damaged leg on the back seat of the car. And then we went to the hospital, and basically we got to the hospital and we struggled again with trying to get my leg up and that, no pun intended, and we had to go and get an x-ray done, and we got the x-ray back and we basically saw that what I'd done is that in my run, so as I'd gone to sprint, the muscle in my thigh was so strong that it basically pulled the edge of my hip bone off. So I'd fractured my hip. So this tiny bit of bone was basically floating around in my leg somewhere. and it wasn't where it was meant to be. So that was basically what happened, and I was in a lot of pain. And over the weekend, I got a lot of messages of worry because it would soon become widespread news across year 10 that Amber had hurt herself and had gone to the hospital. So we went and got the x-ray done. We found out what was the matter. So they gave me some crutches, and I basically couldn't walk in the crutches at all. Like, I was crap. I was basically walking like a baby giraffe. Like, I had to kind of move one arm and then kind of catch the leg up towards it. I just couldn't use the crutches. I was really struggling, and I was kind of in a lot of pain. I was very sore. So yeah, that's the story of how I fractured my hip. I was very surprised at basically how I'd managed to do it, but it basically went all over MySpace within the space of 24 hours that Amber had injured herself. And everybody was worried about me. But I did go to school again on the Monday. I was adamant because it was sort of the time when we were doing GCSE and stuff like that. I didn't want to be off school. I had to kind of want to go in and get stuff done. But I was allowed to leave my lessons early so I could get to and from each class without getting trampled because of my crutches. So that was interesting. So yes, I was on crutches for about a week. I fractured my hip because I'm a twat. And ironically, my mum did the same thing when she was my age as well. So it's clearly something that's run through the family at some way or another. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed that little embarrassing story. It was very embarrassing. And I will speak to you all very, very soon. And thank you for watching. See you later. Bye.